Trae Young and Luka Doncic will forever be tied to each other for the rest of their NBA careers because of what happened on draft night in 2018. Atlanta traded Luka Doncic, who they picked at number 3, to Dallas for Trae Young, who they picked at number 5, and a 2019 protected first-round pick, which ended up being Cam Reddish. Don't let this be a distraction to the fact that Sacramento and Phoenix each passed up on Luka. Phoenix taking Ayton is somewhat understandable since they need a big and already had their franchise guy in Devin Booker, but Sacramento just shit the bed. And that boy Ayton is doing nothing out there. The reason behind the Hawks making that trade could be explained by GM Travis Schlenk. He says, "I've always taken the strategy with the draft to use a baseball strategy. The more swings you get, the more chances you have to get a hit. To be able to take one lottery pick and essentially turn it into 2, that made sense for us." He even mentioned that if Atlanta had kept their number 3 overall pick in the draft, they would have chosen Luka. For the last few years, it's been brought up on social media pretty often about how the Luka and Trae trade is the most even trade in NBA history, even though the Hawks got completely fleeced. They didn't know it at the time, but the Hawks gave up a future Hall of Fame talent who may finish as a top 25 player of all time for a man that looks like a lollipop that got dropped on the floor at the barbershop. But don't get me wrong, Trae Young is an incredible player. He's led the NBA in combined points and assists since he's come into the league, and even led the NBA in total points and total assists last year, which hasn't been done since Tiny Archibald in the 1972-73 season. Trae leads the NBA in the last 4 years when it comes to combined points and assists, as he just broke 10,000, ahead of players like Luka, Jokic, Giannis, and Tatum. With recent reports of Trae possibly wanting out of Atlanta, he hasn't done much for the franchise other than an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. And if he were to leave the franchise, it would be for much less value than if it were Luka. On the other side of things, even though the Mavericks haven't had immense amounts of success since Luka's arrival, he has played at a superhuman level that only a few players in NBA history have reached at such a young age. This past season was a huge disappointment after their Western Conference Finals run just a year ago. It's as if there was a bomb dropped on the team. Oh shit, that was Kyrie. I think most of us are pretty aware of how good Luka is since ESPN shoves it down our throats every day, and his playoff performances speak for themselves. Even though the team has had their struggles, Luka recently vowed to staying in Dallas, saying that there is no reason that he would want to leave when his contract is up. Talking about how one player has done this and the other has done that does not exactly evaluate how good or bad a trade could be for a team. Using my own formula, I plan to find out how some of the most impactful trades in NBA history, including Luka for Trae, have made the team better or worse. I'll be doing so by calculating each player included in the trade's PER, plus their win shares, while also adding the amount of playoff wins those players got on the team they were traded to determine how successful they've made the team, plus the number of years that player has stayed on the team he was traded to, because if a player is only there for 1 year, their value isn't as high. Also, if a pick was involved in the trade, a first is valued at 25 points, and a second or a pick swap is valued at 10 points. And the last thing to add is if the team won a championship with the player that they traded for on the team, that'll be worth 100 points. The total will give us the VTS, the value trade score. So for example, let's look at the Kawhi Leonard trade when he got traded to the Raptors for DeRozan and Poeltl in 2018, which resulted in a Raptors championship. The Raptors received Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green, and Kawhi was valued at 130.8 points and Danny Green was valued at 78.9, and since the Raptors won a championship, they get an additional 100 points, to put their total at 309.7. The Spurs, on the other hand, received DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a first-round pick. DeMar is valued at 117.2, Poeltl is valued at 61.3, and the first-round pick is a value of 25 points, to put the San Antonio Spurs total at 203.5. So now if you take the Raptors 309.7 minus the Spurs 203.5, the Raptors win this trade with a value trade score of 106.2. So now let's do this with some of the biggest trades in the NBA since the year 2000. In 2011, CP3 was traded to the Clippers and it allowed Los Angeles to compete for a championship, at least they thought they were, for a handful of years. and the Clippers came out on the good side by winning the trade with a value trade score of 103.5. In 2007, Kevin Garnett was sent to the Boston Celtics, where they ultimately won a championship in their first year together. Boston sent just about everybody on their fucking roster for Kevin Garnett, and the Celtics came away with winning the trade with a value trade score of 84.2, just making it by. In 2004, we saw Shaq get traded from the Lakers to Miami, where he won a championship in his second season. The Lakers did get a decent return, including Lamar Odom, who ended up being a big piece of the back-to-back champion Lakers in 2009 and 2010. The short time that Shaq spent in Miami and the 2 championships that the Lakers won with Lamar swung this trade score to the Lakers as they come away winning the trade with a VTS score of 188.2. And of course in 2019, when Houston sent an absolute haul to OKC to get Russell Westbrook, which included Chris Paul and a fuck ton of picks, OKC came away with the win in this trade with a value trade score of 206.8. It was a shock to the NBA world when Kyrie demanded a trade from the Cavaliers in 2017 to get away from LeBron. He ended up getting his wish as he was sent to the Celtics, and in return the Cavs got Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Ante Zizic, a first-round pick and a second-round pick. And surprisingly, the Cavaliers were the ones who won this trade with a value trade score of 70. Staying with the Cavaliers, in 2014 when they traded for Kevin Love, they sent away Anthony Bennett, go check the video, Andrew Wiggins, and Thaddeus Young. In return, the Cavs got Kevin Love and a championship in 2016, and they come away with the win with a value trade score of 128.7. In 2021, James Harden nearly destroyed the NBA world when he was traded to the Nets to form a big three with Kyrie and KD. The Nets sent away 4 first-round picks and 4 pick swaps for 1 player. The Nets got about a year and a half of an injured James Harden, but they still, just to say, come away with a win in this trade with a value trade score of 26.2, which is the lowest we've seen so far. In 2019, PG was sent to the Clippers to team up with Kawhi for a package of Danilo Gallinari, SGA, 5 first-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. To no surprise though, OKC wins this trade because of the sheer amount of shit that they got back for PG. OKC wins this trade with a VTS score of 164.5. Of course, we also have the AD to Lakers trade in 2019 when he was sent from New Orleans to LA to team up with Bron. The Lakers ended up winning a championship in the bubble in 2020, but they also had to send away Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and a bunch of fucking picks. But with the championship under their belt, the Lakers come away with a win in this trade with a value trade score of 56.5. And who knows, this value trade score may go up this year if they win a championship. And last but not least, the Luka for Trae trade in 2018, where Atlanta received Trae Young and a first-round pick for Luka Doncic. With both players still having long, successful careers ahead of them, at this moment in time, the Atlanta Hawks shockingly come away as the winners of this trade with a slim value trade score of 14.8. Who knows if Trae is going to demand a trade within the next year, and if Luka is going to have any success in Dallas if they could actually build a team around him. 15 years from now, the trade may swing in Dallas's favor, allowing them to be the winners of this trade. But for now, it's the Hawks. And this is how they rank against some of the craziest blockbuster trades in the NBA since the year 2000.